Hey everybody, I'm Rhinociart, and today I'm drawing a movie not a movie poster, a fic poster for a Lord of the Rings fanfiction that I really enjoyed reading and also love the author for. You know why? Because it's B. It's my partner. She writes really good. I realize this is some kind of bias, but I met her in the first place because we were both writing fanfiction. I feel like that counts for something. I know most film posters nowadays have kind of a particular look to them. Usually it's a bunch of people layered on top of each other, and some are close-up of faces, and other ones are just people dramatically staring off into the distance, yada yada. I'm not the biggest fan of that. You don't see them so much nowadays, but I always really liked those movie posters that were more like an object or a scene from the movie, something that was really important. The Hunchback of Notre Dame comes to mind. They had some really cool stylized images for that one. And I thought since the fic that I was drawing this for, Lest We Burden Our Weary Hearts, since it's a romantic drama, probably wouldn't have a lot of action-y scenes, or like there wouldn't be much to it if it just drew the main characters like standing and looking wistfully off into the distance. So instead I decided to use an iconic item, this maple handmade box that comes up later in the story, as my focal point for the image. The problem with this plan is that it involves drawing hands, really close-up hands, with nails. And like different sized fingers. I don't draw, okay, anyone who does art is going to tell you drawing hands is the worst. And for some reason I thought it would be a great idea to draw a poster that was entirely close-ups of hands. Why do I do this to myself?
I know why I do it, it's for love.
Anyway, if you ever decide to take on an endeavor like this, please, I implore you, flip your canvas around a few times. It should save you at least some hassle in getting the hands to look right. I did spend a little while in here playing around with different brushes for line art, but like, I don't know what other artists do, because I'm always just like, I got my eraser, I got my pen brush, and I got a bucket fill, and that's pretty much everything I use. Believe it or not, it actually took me like 20 plus years of doing art before I was like, hey, you know what? The bucket fill tool is a thing. I could just like outline an area and then bucket fill it in. Why did it take me so long? Why am I like this? Mistake number 2 was deciding to do this detailed box freehand. Why did I do this to myself? I basically had to draw out all the little inlaid designs by hand at weird angles and a maple leaf. Don't ever try to draw a maple leaf at this like weird angle. The challenge. Kind of looked like the Fire Nation symbol right off the get though. So while I do understand using different colors to make shading more dynamic, I still, again after 20 years of art, have not figured out how much I'm supposed to blend things. Like, I know it's a beginner mistake to like over-blend all of your things, but I still haven't figured out what the right threshold is, and I haven't quite figured out how to do the hard shading. So I've tried to do some hard shading here. There's some harder, more set, concrete lines where the shading, I don't know, I tried. I did make the line art for the background a little bit thinner than the foreground to try to show off some depth.
And it's such a beautiful background, isn't it?
I know it's kind of goofy looking, but like, because I use so many light and dark filters over top of my drawings, I knew the background was kind of gonna fade into the background, so I kind of slacked on it. Don't tell me. I know I've mentioned this before, but I am big on luminosity and shade and overlay layers, and I defo used a lot in this version. So there's sort of a bluish purple overlay layer between the background and the hands, gotta love layers, and then a hazy shade layer around the hands to sort of bring attention to them. And then the dramatic church lighting, as it's been called. This is apparently one of my hallmarks. And if you think too hard about it in this scene, it's like, hey, what is that lighting? Where is it coming from? Like, what's the deal? So I knew I was going to have some problems with the font because Paint Tool Side doesn't have a text tool, but then I had a wild and crazy idea. I opened Clip Studio Paint. It's a program I've barely looked at so far, but it came along with my tablet and I know it has a text function. And basically after trying the text out over the image to get an idea what it would look like, I saved the image as a Photoshop file and then reopened it in Sci, and then Sci was like, oh, those text layers? They're just image layers. I can move that around and change the color of it, no problem. Computer programs hacked. Art hacked. Next up, the Pentagon. What even is the Pentagon? I'm Canadian, I don't know what that... I spent about 3 hours on this and most of it was playing with filters and trying to figure out the text, but I think it turned out sufficiently dramatic for the heart-wrenching, soul-destroying, beautiful fic that B wrote, which I will link in the description because, like, I realize I have bias and this is just me yelling about how beautiful my wife is, but, like, trust me on this, she will destroy you with feelings. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, as per always. If you liked it, please let me know, hit the like button or whatever, and if you want to stick around and see more of this kind of stuff, feel free to snoo-scribble, and I will see you in the next little while. Okay, bye!